Okay, so in this video, I'm going to be teaching you how to create more time and more energy. You never need to bring anything home again, but you're still going to be an amazing teacher. So, a little bit about me. My name is Kristen Vassar. I am a fifth grade ELA and social studies teacher, about to start my 20th year. I'm also a life coach for moms, um, a mom of three, and I'm sharing with you how I went from overwhelm and burnout to ease and love for teaching during COVID when I started using this system and making changes to my mindset around teaching. So, the system I use is super simple, but I feel like we just never really thought about it as teachers. And this is an example of my plan book that I use. On the left hand side, you'll notice I have the subjects, the two subjects that I teach. And then these are different times in the day that I like teach mini lessons and things like that. So I plan all of that out. And then what I have are the times in my day that I have set aside to do my work. So notice number one, it says decide when you are willing to work over your prep period and the time you are required to. So for me, I didn't want to take work home at all. You might want to take work home, once a week or something like that. I work before school. That's when I have time to. That's when I'm the most fresh. And then I have to stay after school for about 15 minutes once the bell rings. So I put on my plan book before school and after school. And the before school that I work is about 30 minutes, and it's the only time that I actually work outside of contract hours. Other than that, I work during my prep, and then we have something called common planning time. So I put all of this into my plan book every single week. So number two says in your planning book, add all of these times for me, before school, after school, and prep. So figure out, when are you willing to work? When do you have to work, like your prep, and put all of that in your plan book, because we're going to plan our working time. All right. So this is what I do every single week. So on Fridays, and you can do it any day, it doesn't have to be Friday, I sit down and I make a list of all of my to-dos, my have to-dos and my want to-dos. Then next, I plug in my plan book, I plug any meetings that I have during these times. So let's say I'm meeting with my teammate. Let's say I'm meeting with the other ELA teachers. Let's say I'm having a staff meeting. I put those into my plan book first. Then number three, decide on what you dislike doing most. Then decide when you are the most focused. For me, that was correcting. So I dislike correcting the most, and I'm the most focused in the morning. So I plug that task into that time first. So I always put my correcting in the morning before school. So in my plan book, I would put correct whatever it is I need to correct, essays or test or quiz or whatever. And I put that in the before school slot. So, like I said, pick the thing you dislike doing and choose maybe it's a day of the week, maybe you're more fresh and able to do your work on Tuesdays, and put that thing on Tuesdays. Maybe you work better after school, so put the thing that you dislike doing, put it in your after school or the first thing in your prep. um, and then number four, plug everything else into your week. Put the most important first, so that if you run out of time, you skip unnecessary tasks or leave them until next week. You can only do so much. So number two, plug in your meetings. Number three, put in the things that you dislike doing in the most productive time, and then put everything else in. You want to look at your have to do's, like the things that you have to do, not the things that you want to do. Don't put too much into your schedule, because then you're not going to get it done. I like to keep my plan book, I like to keep my plans as simple as possible and as light as possible. And that takes like lots of practice. Okay. So that's what I do once a week. Then during the week, these are the things that I do to make sure that I'm doing the work that I wrote down in my plan book. So, number one, get it done. You wrote it down, so that is when it needs to get done. Remind yourself that you have time for so much more if you work when you plan to. So, don't go and have a chat with somebody. Don't scroll on your phone. Just go in, when your prep starts. Look at the box that says prep for that day and do number one. Just get it done. Don't procrastinate. Don't think about doing it. Just do it. That's probably is the most important thing. Number two, limit distractions during this time. Put away your phone and close your door. Go hide in the library. Whatever it is you need to do. Number three, if you do not finish something that you plan to, find another time to do it that day. Do at least some of it. So if I put in my plan book to correct essays, and let's say, I don't have as much time, I just say, okay, just correct 3 essays. So you at least feel like you did some of it. Number four, if you finish something early, so let's say you get all of your tasks done for that day, decide what you need. Do you need a break? Do you have more fuel and you want to take something off of tomorrow's list? Just get used to asking yourself, what do I need right now? Number five, check off your tasks. When you do it, give yourself a yay me moment. This trains your brain to want more. So make sure that you're telling yourself, you're doing a great job, you got this done, and put a little check mark next to it. Okay, helpful hints to reduce your workload. Number one, you don't need to correct every single thing. What they're doing is practice. The practice isn't on the paper, the practice is in their brain. So it's okay if you go over something as a class or if you just go over part of it. You don't have to collect everything and put your eyes on every single piece of work that they do. Number two, have your students do more. They can help you organize. They can help you pass things out, hang bulletin boards up, whatever it is, depends on your age that you teach, but give them things to do. They like to help. Number three, collaborate with others, divide and conquer. So work with your fellow ELA teacher, work with your neighbor, and say, okay, I'm going to plan math and science. You can plan ELA and social studies. I'll do the copies for this. You do the copies for this. Number four, sneak something in here and there while you have the students. So, for example, pull something off your to-do list during indoor recess or while they're working independently. Here and there, I'm not saying sit at your desk and do work while they're working, but it's okay sometimes to let them work and not be completely engaged every single second. It's really okay. The next one, create a big project during your prep, like creating a unit. So for this one, our brains don't work well when we like, let's say you check your email and then you correct something and then you go and talk to your friend and then you make coffee and then you go back and you check your email again and then you work more on that same thing. Like, you should do one big project at a time. That's how your brain works best. Number two, don't spend time in indecision. Make a decision and go for it. I used to spend so much time scrolling on the internet to find the perfect lesson. No more. I'll give myself 5 minutes. I look, I decide, and then I go with it. Number three, don't reinvent the wheel. If it's on Teachers Pay Teachers or another teacher has done it, just use that. Number four, when correcting, don't correct every detail. Just assess what you have focused on. For example, don't correct every spelling mistake when you are assessing compound sentences. Just pick something that you're assessing, not every single thing that they wrote on the paper. That will take you way too long. Okay, so that is the process that I used to get my work done and never bring anything home. These are the mindset shifts that I needed to make And these things, absolutely, you can work on your own. But if they're things that you want help with, I can certainly teach you how to shift your mindset and to stop doing these things. Okay. So here are some things that, if when I say it, you say, ooh, that's me, it's a big time and energy waster that if you stop doing it, you would create more time and more energy. So the first one is needing outside validation. When you need your principal, other teachers, the parents, the students to give you validation and tell you that you're doing a good job, what you're going to do is you're going to try to do far more than you need to. You're going to become a people pleaser. So if your principal asks you to do something, you're always going to say yes because you want to please them, right? If a parent asks you to do something, you're always going to do it, or you're going to send a super long email that could be a couple of sentences. Just work on building yourself up and telling yourself that you're doing a good job. You don't need anybody else to tell you that you're doing a great job. Okay. So just work on your own self. The next one, wanting people to be different than they are. This one, we can, as teachers, can spend a lot of time wishing that our students listened more, or that our parents were sure that they were sending them in with pencils, or that our principal listened to our ideas, or whatever. Stop wanting people to be different than they are and just say, like, okay, this kid never brings a pencil in. What do I want to do about it? I'm not going to spend all this time wishing that his mom sent in pencils with him. I'm just going to decide, okay, Larry is never coming with a pencil. What do I want to do with that habit? The next one, taking things too seriously. Yes, our job is important. No, it is not that important. And your brain might want to argue with me and tell me, yes, it's so important. Everything I do has to be great. I have to have the kids engaged all the time, blah, blah, blah. Yes, that is very nice to think. It is wonderful to aspire to being a good teacher. However, is it making you do way too much and become exhausted? It's okay to play a game every once in a while. It's okay if every lesson is not perfect. It's really okay. You still have tomorrow. um, Doing unnecessary things and not prioritizing. You, like, do you prioritize? Or are you putting up a bulletin board or creating a craft when you should be correcting or doing report cards or whatever? Make sure you prioritize. Making things too complicated. So for that, like, do you try to create like a million centers, or like, when you're finished, here's the list of things that you can do, and then you're going and making copies for everything? Or do you just say, okay, when you're done, you can play with these blocks, or when you're done, you can do this crossword puzzle? Like, just keep it much more simple. All right. Here are some other time and energy wasters. Procrastination. So that was what I talked about before, like just getting it done. If you spend, let's say you spend a couple of days procrastinating on correcting something, you're really like, you're going to go through your day and be like, oh, I have to correct those essays. I have to correct those essays. Every time you see them, you're going to think about that, and that drains your energy. So the best case scenario is to just do it. You either feel uncomfortable the whole time that you're procrastinating, or you feel uncomfortable for the 1 minute that you get started on something. You pick. Next one, complaining. How much time are you spending complaining about the people who are not doing the things that you want them to do? I'm not saying complaining, there isn't a time or a place for complaining, but like, are you spending a lot of time complaining? A good thing to do for this is to say to your colleagues, like, hey, I really want to cut down on complaining. So if I start complaining and I complain for more than 3 minutes, do you mind just like stopping me? Self-doubt, I talked about that before. If you doubt yourself, you're going to go back and forth. You're not going to just, pick a lesson or create a quick lesson, you're going to say, "Ooh, maybe that's not good enough," or you're going to do more than you need to do. So just, again, really work on focusing on what you're doing well, telling yourself you're doing it well, and becoming a confident teacher. Researching. I talked about this before. Just don't do too much research. Just pick something and go with it. And then perfectionism. Again, every single thing does not have to be perfect. If you're a perfectionist, ask yourself why. What is it you're trying to show other people? Why can't you just be yourself and be imperfectly perfect? All right. So please try my system out. Reach out if you have any questions. Um, and if you would like some help with the things that I talked about, like procrastination or perfectionism or self doubt and things like that as a teacher, that is the mindset shift that I help teachers make so that you can love teaching again, right? And if we spoke for 1 hour on a consult call and you told me all of the things that you felt like were holding you back, I can absolutely give you some new ways to think and ways to show up without even you signing up for coaching. It could just be a free consult call for you to hear some tips and tricks to go and try on your own. So definitely email me if that sounds like something you'd be interested in learning more about. But guys, teaching is can be a very difficult job, but there are certain things we can do and not do to make it so much easier and just so much more enjoyable. Our kids want us, our students want us to feel excited to be there. They know when we're unhappy being there, and our energy decides their energy. So try these things out. Let me know how it goes, and I can't wait to hear from you. Bye.